The Zorathians were sure they could do whatever they wanted. They were tall, scaly aliens with glowing red eyes and sharp claws from a planet called Zorath, far away in the stars. They believed they were stronger and smarter than anyone else in the galaxy. To them, humans were small, weak, and unimportant. So they made a terrible plan. Deep in space, where no one could see, they built a secret station. It was a huge metal structure, hidden among dark asteroids, floating in the cold, quiet void. Inside this station, they kept 10 humans in special pods, frozen in cryo sleep, a kind of deep sleep where people don't age or wake up until someone lets them out. The Zorathians didn't ask for permission. They didn't tell anyone what they were doing. They just took those 10 humans from a peaceful Earth ship that was exploring the stars. The humans were scientists, teachers, and engineers, all traveling to learn more about the universe. The Zorathians attacked their ship in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep. They used sneaky technology to make the ship's alarms stay quiet. Then they moved the 10 humans to their secret station, locked them in the cryopods, and left them there, frozen like statues. They didn't give them a chance to speak or fight back. No trial, no names, just silence. The Zorathians thought no one would notice. They believed the galaxy was too big, too busy to care about 10 missing humans. After all, their station was hidden far away from trade routes and busy planets. They thought Earth was too weak to do anything, even if someone found out. To the Zorathians, humans were like ants, easy to ignore, easy to crush. They laughed as they locked the pods, thinking their plan was perfect. They were sure they could keep the humans forever, maybe to study them or use them for their own cruel experiments. They didn't care about the families waiting back on Earth or the friends who would miss them. To the Zorathians, it was just another day of being powerful. But they were wrong. The galaxy wasn't as quiet as they thought. Other aliens, blue-skinned traders from Velara, furry engineers from Krathos, and even the wise, ancient tree beings from Silvar started to hear whispers. A small scout ship from Velara had seen something strange near the asteroids, a flash of light, a shadow too big to be natural. They sent a message to their leaders, who shared it with others. Soon, word spread through the galaxy's communication networks like a ripple in a pond. People started asking questions. Where was the Earth ship? Why hadn't it checked in? What were the Zorathians hiding? Back on Earth, people were paying attention too. The missing ship wasn't just any ship. It was the Starlight Explorer, one of Earth's best. It carried some of the smartest and kindest people from cities like New York, Tokyo, and Nairobi. Families were waiting for their loved ones to send messages home, to tell stories about the stars they'd seen. But the messages stopped. At first, Earth's leaders thought it was a problem with the ship's radio. They sent out probes to check, but the probes found nothing. Then, a trader from Krathos sent Earth a blurry image of a strange station among the asteroids. It wasn't on any map. That's when Earth knew something was very wrong. The Zorathians didn't know that Earth had friends across the galaxy. Humans had spent years helping other planets. They shared food with the hungry people of Velara during a drought. They built clean water systems for Krathos when their rivers dried up. They even taught the tree beings of Silvar how to grow new forests. These acts of kindness made Earth special. Other aliens respected humans, not because they were the strongest, but because they cared. So when the Starlight Explorer vanished, The galaxy didn't stay quiet. People started talking and Earth started listening. On Earth, families of the missing humans gathered in a big meeting hall in Geneva. The room was full of worried faces, mothers, brothers, children, all waiting for news. A woman named Aisha, whose brother was on the ship, stood up and spoke. "We can't just wait," she said. "We need to find them." Her voice was strong, even though her heart was breaking. Others nodded. A man named Carlos, whose daughter was a scientist on the ship, agreed. "If someone took them, we'll get them back," he said. The room buzzed with energy. Earth wasn't going to let this go. Meanwhile, the Zorathians were celebrating in their secret station. Their leader, a tall alien named Cryo, stood on a platform above the cryopods. His red eyes glowed as he spoke to his soldiers. "Humans are nothing," he said. "We can take what we want and no one will stop us." The soldiers cheered, their claws clacking against their armor. They thought their station was invisible, their plan perfect. They didn't know that a tiny drone, no bigger than a baseball, had slipped past their defenses. It was sent by a curious Velaran trader who didn't trust the Zorathians. The drone recorded everything: the pods, the humans inside, and Crazer's cruel words. That drone's video reached Earth a few days later. It played on every screen in every city. People saw their loved ones frozen in those cold metal pods. They saw Crazer's smug face as he laughed at humans. Anger spread like fire. Students in schools stopped their lessons to watch. Workers in factories put down their tools. Even kids playing in parks stopped to listen as their parents whispered about the news. Earth wasn't just listening now. It was ready to act. The Zorathians had made a big mistake. They thought no one would care about 10 humans. They thought silence would hide their crime. But the galaxy was watching and it was talking. Planets sent messages to Earth offering help. The Velarans promised to share their maps of the asteroid field. The Krathosians offered their fastest ships. Even the tree beings of Silvar, who rarely spoke, sent a message: "We stand with Earth." The Zorathians didn't know it yet, but their secret was out. Their perfect plan was falling apart. In the secret station, the Zorathians kept working, unaware of the storm coming their way. They checked the cryopods, making sure the humans were still asleep. They wrote notes about each human, planning to use them for experiments. One human, a woman named Dr. Lena Carter, was a scientist who studied stars. They wanted to know how her brain worked. Another, a man named Jamal, was an engineer who built bridges. They thought his skills could help them make stronger weapons. They didn't see these humans as people with families and dreams. To them, they were just tools. But Earth saw them differently. On Earth, Dr. Carter's students were already planning ways to find her. Jamal's son was drawing pictures of his dad, hoping he'd come home soon. The other 8 humans had people who loved them too: a sister, a best friend, a husband. Each one was missed. Each one was important. The Zorathians didn't understand that. They thought taking 10 people was nothing. They didn't know that those 10 people were the spark that would light a fire across the stars. The galaxy's whispers grew louder. A Krathosian pilot spotted a Zorathian ship leaving the asteroid field and followed it. She sent back coordinates to Earth. A Silvar tree being used its ancient knowledge to track energy signals from the secret station. Every clue brought Earth closer to the truth. The Zorathians thought they were safe, hidden in the dark. But the dark wasn't dark enough. Earth was coming, and it wasn't alone. The Zorathians' biggest mistake wasn't just taking the humans, it was thinking no one would care. They didn't know that Earth was a planet of fighters, not just with weapons, but with hearts and minds. They didn't know that the galaxy had learned to trust humans, to believe in them. The Zorathians thought they could act in secret, in silence. But silence doesn't last when people care. And people cared a lot. As the days passed, Earth's leaders worked fast. They sent messages to their allies asking for help. They built new drones to search the asteroid field. They called on hackers to break into Zorathian systems. The families of the missing humans didn't sit still either. Aisha, the sister of one of the captives, started a group to share news and plan rescues. Carlos, the father, worked with engineers to design ships that could fly faster and quieter than ever before. Earth wasn't just listening anymore. It was moving, planning, fighting. The Zorathians kept laughing in their station, thinking they had won. They checked their screens, saw nothing, and felt safe. But out in the galaxy, the tide was turning. The Velarans shared their maps. The Krathosians sent their ships. The tree beings sent their wisdom, and Earth sent its heart. The Zorathians thought they could hide. They thought they could win. They were wrong. The galaxy was watching, and Earth was ready. The 10 humans taken by the Zorathians weren't just random people. Each one had a story, a family, and someone who cared about them deeply. These weren't strangers to the galaxy or to Earth. They were special, and the Zorathians didn't know how big a mistake they had made by taking them. Each human had someone powerful in their life, someone who wasn't going to let them stay locked in those cold cryopods. The Zorathians thought they could hide their crime, but they hurt the wrong people, and those people's loved ones were ready to fight back. First, there was Dr. Lena Carter. She was a scientist who loved studying stars. Her eyes sparkled when she talked about how they burned bright in the sky. Lena grew up in a small town in Australia where she'd sit outside at night, counting constellations with her little brother, Sam. Sam wasn't so little anymore. He was now one of Earth's best hackers, a genius who built the computer systems that kept Earth's cities safe. Sam could break into any network, find any secret, and shut down machines with just a few clicks. When he heard his sister was missing, his heart sank, but his mind started racing. He wasn't going to let the Zorathians keep Lena. Sam was already opening his laptop, ready to hunt for clues in the galaxy's digital shadows. Then there was Jamal Okoro, an engineer from Nigeria. Jamal was famous for building bridges that could stand through earthquakes and storms. He had a big laugh and a kind heart, always helping his neighbors. His son Tobai was only 12, but he was proud of his dad. Tobai's mom was Commander Aisha Okoro, a leader in Earth's space navy. Aisha had flown ships through battles that seemed impossible to win. She was tough, with a sharp mind and a calm voice that made her crew trust her. When Aisha learned Jamal was taken, she stood on the deck of her ship, staring at the stars. She promised Tobai she'd bring his dad home. The Zorathians didn't know they made an enemy of one of Earth's strongest commanders. Another human was Maria Gonzalez, a teacher from Mexico. Maria taught kids how to grow plants in space, so humans could live on other planets someday. She was patient and always smiled, even when her students made mistakes. Her best friend, Elena, was a scientist who designed robots that could explore dangerous places, like volcanoes or asteroid fields. Elena was fierce and never gave up, no matter how hard a problem was. When she heard Maria was locked in a cryopod, Elena stopped her work and started building a new robot, one that could sneak into the Zorathian station and find her friend. The Zorathians had no idea Elena was coming for them. There was also Chen Wei, a doctor from China. Wei saved lives on Earth and on space stations, always carrying a small bag of medical tools. He was quiet but brave, once running into a burning ship to help injured people. His wife, Li Mei, was a pilot who flew cargo ships across the galaxy. Li Mei was fast and clever, dodging space pirates and storms with ease. She loved Wei's gentle smile and hated the thought of him trapped by the Zorathians. Li Mei was already plotting a route to the asteroid field, ready to fly her fastest ship to save her husband. The Zorathians didn't know they'd angered someone who could outfly their best pilots. Another captive was Priya Sharma, a musician from India. Priya played a sitar, making music that calmed hearts and brought people together. Her songs were played on Earth and even on other planets. Her older sister, Annika, was a diplomat who worked with alien leaders to keep peace in the galaxy. Annika was smart and spoke 10 languages, including some alien ones. When she learned Priya was taken, Annika stopped her meetings and called her alien friends. She was ready to use her words and connection to make the Zorathians pay. The Zorathians didn't realize they'd hurt someone whose sister could rally whole planets against them. Then there was James Walker, a farmer from the United States. James grew food in giant greenhouses in space, feeding thousands of people. He was strong and always told funny stories to his workers. His daughter, Sarah, was a young inventor who built machines to make life easier. Sarah was only 16, but her gadgets were used on Earth's biggest ships. When she heard her dad was gone, Sarah locked herself in her workshop, building something new, something that could help find James. The Zorathians had no clue they'd taken someone whose daughter was a genius with tools. Another human was Fatima Ali, a historian from Egypt. Fatima studied old Earth stories to teach people how to avoid past mistakes. She was wise and loved sharing tales with her students. Her brother, Omar, was a spy who worked for Earth's government. Omar was sneaky, able to slip into enemy bases without being seen. When he learned Fatima was in a cryopod, Omar packed his gear and vanished into the stars. He was already planning how to sneak into the Zorathian station. The Zorathians didn't know they'd taken someone whose brother was a master of secrets. There was also Sofia Petrov, a mechanic from Russia. Sofia fixed engines on ships that traveled between stars. She was tough, with grease always on her hands, but she loved to dance when her work was done. Her husband, Ivan, was a builder who made space stations strong enough to last forever. Ivan was big and quiet, but he loved Sofia more than anything. When he heard she was taken, Ivan started designing a new kind of ship, one that could break through Zorathian defenses. The Zorathians didn't realize they'd hurt someone whose husband could build anything. Another captive was Kwame Mensah, a chef from Ghana. Kwame cooked meals that made people happy, even on long space trips. He was always singing while he worked, making everyone around him smile. His cousin, Nia, was a lawyer who fought for fairness in the galaxy. Nia was sharp and never lost a case. When she learned Kwame was gone, Nia started gathering proof of what the Zorathians did. She was ready to tell the galaxy and make the Zorathians answer for their crimes. The Zorathians didn't know they'd taken someone whose cousin could use words like weapons. Finally, there was Eiko Tanaka, an artist from Japan. Eiko painted pictures of stars and planets that made people dream of adventure. Her gentle spirit touched everyone she met. Her father, Hiroshi, was a general in Earth's army. Hiroshi was old but strong, with a mind for strategy that won many battles. When he heard Eiko was taken, Hiroshi called his old soldiers together. He was ready to lead them to the asteroid field to save his daughter. The Zorathians didn't know they'd hurt someone whose father was a hero of wars. Each of these humans was loved. Each had someone powerful in their life: hackers, commanders, scientists, pilots, diplomats, inventors, spies, builders, lawyers, and generals. These weren't just 10 people to their families and friends. They were everything. The Zorathians thought they could take them and no one would care. They thought they could lock them in cryopods and keep their secret. But they were so wrong. They didn't just hurt strangers. They hurt people who were connected to others who wouldn't stop until they were free. On Earth, the families and friends of these 10 humans were already moving. Sam was typing code to track Zorathian ships. Aisha was readying her fleet. Alina was testing her robot. Li Mei was fueling her ship. Annika was calling alien leaders. Sarah was building her gadget. Omar was sneaking through space. Ivan was drawing ship plans. Nia was writing her case. Hiroshi was gathering his soldiers. They weren't alone either. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers on Earth joined them. The news of the missing 10 spread, and people wanted to help. The Zorathians didn't understand what they'd done. They thought humans were weak, easy to forget. But humans weren't just names on a list. They were part of a bigger family, Earth's family, and when you hurt one human, you hurt them all. The Zorathians thought their secret station was safe, hidden in the dark. They thought no one would notice 10 missing people. But they didn't know the power of love, of family, of friends who fight for each other. They didn't know they'd started a fire that would burn across the stars. The galaxy was starting to notice too. Alien planets heard about the missing humans. Some sent messages to Earth asking how they could help. Others watched the Zorathians, waiting for proof of their crime. The Zorathians thought they were in control, but they were. They'd taken 10 humans, thinking it was nothing. But those 10 humans were everything to someone. And those someones were powerful, brave, and ready to fight. The Zorathians had hurt the wrong people, and they were about to find out just how wrong they were. The humans didn't waste time talking. They were angry, sad, and determined to get their loved ones back from the Zorathians. Instead of shouting or sending messages, they started doing things, quiet, smart things that would make the Zorathians pay attention. The Zorathians had taken 10 humans and locked them in cryopods on a secret station. They thought no one would notice or care. But humans were already moving, starting their revenge in small, sneaky ways. A Zorathian ship vanished in the asteroid belt. A supply station stopped working without a clue why. No guns were fired. No alarms went off. The Zorathians laughed at first, thinking it was nothing, but something big had begun. On Earth, people were busy planning. In a small room in Tokyo, Sam Carter, the hacker and brother of Dr. Lena Carter, sat at his computer. His fingers flew over the keys, sending tiny bits of code into space. Sam wasn't trying to fight with weapons. He was using his brain to mess with the Zorathians' machines. One night, he found a Zorathian cargo ship traveling through the asteroid belt. It was carrying food and tools to their secret station. Sam sent a secret signal to the ship's computer, making it think it was lost. The ship drifted off course and got stuck between two giant rocks. No one saw it happen. The Zorathians on the ship sent out calls for help, but Sam blocked those too. When they checked their maps, the ship was gone. They didn't know it was Sam's doing, but Earth knew. It was the first step. At the same time, Commander Aisha Okoro, Jamal's wife, was on her ship, the Eagle's Wing. Aisha was a leader who knew how to stay calm even when things got tough. She didn't want to start a big war yet. Instead, she sent a small team of pilots to a Zorathian supply station near the edge of the asteroid field. This station was like a big gas station for Zorathian ships, full of fuel and spare parts. Aisha's team was sneaky. They wore black suits that hid them in the dark and used tiny drones to slip inside. Once there, they didn't break anything. They just turned off the station's power like flipping a light switch. The station went dark. The Zorathians inside were confused, running around trying to fix it. But Aisha's team was already gone, flying back to their ship. The station stayed broken for days, and the Zorathians had to wait for help. They didn't know humans were behind it, but they were starting to feel uneasy. Back on Earth, Elena, Maria's scientist friend, was working in her lab in Mexico. Elena built robots that could go where people couldn't. She was mad that the Zorathians took her best friend, so she made a new robot, small as a soccer ball. This robot could roll into tight spaces and send pictures back to Elena. She gave it to a team of Earth pilots who were heading to the asteroid belt. The pilots dropped the robot onto a Zorathian outpost, a small base where soldiers guarded supplies. The robot rolled inside, quiet as a mouse, and found the outpost's computer. It sent a signal that mixed up all the Zorathian schedules. Suddenly, their lights turned off at the wrong time, their doors locked, and their food machine stopped working. The soldiers were annoyed but didn't suspect humans. They thought their machines were old. Elena smiled when she got the robot's pictures. She knew she'd helped start something. Limei, Wei's pilot wife, was also doing her part. She flew her fast ship, the Star Dart, through the galaxy's trade routes. Limei was clever and knew how to stay out of sight. She heard that a Zorathian trading post was sending money to their secret station. This post was a busy place where aliens bought and sold things. Limei didn't want to hurt anyone, so she came up with a plan. She dressed as a trader with a fake name and a hooded cloak. She slipped into the trading post and used a small device to mess with their money system. The device made it look like the Zorathians' money was sent to the wrong place. Their bank accounts showed zero. The traders panicked, thinking they were broke. Limei was already back on her ship, flying away before anyone noticed. The Zorathians didn't know it was her, but they were starting to worry about their money. In India, Annika, Priya's diplomat sister, was using her skills to make trouble. Annika knew how to talk to important aliens across the galaxy. She didn't tell them about the humans in cryopods yet. She needed proof first. Instead, she spread a rumor. She called her friends on the planet Velara and said the Zorathians were hiding something in the asteroid belt. She didn't say what, just enough to make them curious. Soon, Velaran scout ships started flying near the asteroid belt looking for clues. The Zorathians saw these ships and got nervous. They didn't want anyone snooping around their secret station. Annika's rumor was small, but it made the Zorathians sweat. They laughed less now, wondering who was watching them. Sarah, James's inventor daughter, was only 16, but she was already helping. In her workshop in Texas, she built a tiny gadget that could stick to Zorathian ships. This gadget sent a signal back to Earth, telling Sarah where the ship was going. She gave her gadgets to a team of Earth scouts who were exploring the stars. One scout stuck a gadget on a Zorathian patrol ship. The ship didn't notice, but Sarah did. She saw it was heading toward the asteroid field near the secret station. She shared the news with Earth's leaders, giving them a better idea of where their loved ones were. The Zorathians didn't know they were being tracked, but their secrets were slipping away. Omar, Fatima's spy brother, was one of the sneakiest humans. He was already in space, hiding on a small ship near the Zorathian territory. Omar was good at listening without being seen. He used a special radio to hear Zorathian soldiers talking. One night he heard them mention a supply depot, a big warehouse full of food and weapons. Omar didn't attack it. Instead, he sneaked inside when the guards weren't looking. He moved boxes around, hiding important supplies behind useless junk. When the Zorathians came to get their food, they couldn't find it. They argued and blamed each other. Omar was long gone, but his trick made the soldiers hungry and mad. The Zorathians didn't suspect humans, but they were starting to feel the pressure. Ivan, Sophia's builder husband, was working on something bigger. In a shipyard in Russia, he was designing a new kind of drone. This drone was small but strong, able to carry heavy things. Ivan didn't want to hurt anyone, so he made the drone to steal. He sent it to a Zorathian mining base where they dug up metals for their ships. The drone waited until night, then flew in and grabbed a crate of rare metal. It flew away before the guards noticed. The Zorathians were confused when they saw the missing crate. They thought it was a mistake, but their ships would be weaker without that metal. Ivan's drone was already on its way to Earth, carrying proof that humans were fighting back. Nia, Quame's lawyer cousin, was using her brain to cause trouble. In Ghana, she was writing letters to alien leaders, asking questions about Zorathian ships. She didn't say anything about the cryopods, but she hinted that the Zorathians were breaking galaxy rules. Her letters made the Krathosians, a furry alien race, start checking Zorathian ships more closely. One Krathosian inspector stopped a Zorathian ship and found it was carrying strange equipment, maybe for the secret station. The inspector didn't know about the humans, but he made the Zorathians wait for days to explain. Nia's letters were small, but they slowed the Zorathians down. They weren't laughing as much anymore. Hiroshi, Aiko's general father, was planning something quiet but smart. In Japan, he met with old soldiers who trusted him. He didn't want to send an army yet. That would be too loud. Instead, he sent a small team to a Zorathian communication tower. This tower sent messages between their ships. Hiroshi's team climbed the tower at night and added a tiny device that mixed up the messages. Suddenly, Zorathian ships got orders to go to the wrong places. One ship ended up in a stormy nebula, far from where it needed to be. The Zorathians thought it was a glitch, but Hiroshi knew better. His team was already planning their next move. All these actions were small, but they added up. A ship gone, a station dark, a trading post broke, an outpost confused, a depot messy, a mining base robbed, a communication tower scrambled. The Zorathians noticed things going wrong, but they didn't connect the dots. They thought it was bad luck or old machines. They laughed at first, joking about their clumsy workers. But deep down, some were starting to wonder. Why was everything breaking? Why were other aliens watching them? The Zorathians didn't know it was humans, but they were starting to feel a chill. On Earth, people were talking about these small wins. Families of the 10 humans shared stories in meeting halls. Aisha told everyone about the dark supply station. Sam bragged about the lost cargo ship. Sarah showed her gadget signals on a big screen. Each story made people feel stronger. They weren't fighting with big bombs or loud battles. They were using their brains, their skills, and their hearts. Kids in schools cheered when they heard about the tricks. Workers in factories clapped for the sneaky plans. Even old people nodded, proud of their clever humans. The galaxy was starting to notice too. Velaran traders saw the Zorathians acting strange, rushing to fix their broken stations. Krathosian pilots heard about the missing ship and wondered what was happening. Even the tree beings of Silvar, who moved slowly, sent a message to Earth. "We see your strength." The Zorathians didn't know it, but their actions were making waves. Other aliens were watching, waiting to see what would happen next. The Zorathians still thought they were safe in their secret station. They checked the cryopods, making sure the 10 humans were still asleep. They wrote plans for their experiments, thinking no one could stop them. But outside, in the dark of space, humans were moving. Sam's code was spreading. Aisha's pilots were planning. Alina's robots were rolling. Limei's ship was flying. Annika's rumors were growing. Sarah's gadgets were tracking. Omar's tricks were hiding. Ivan's drones were stealing. Nia's letters were stirring. Hiroshi's team was sneaking. Each small act was like a pebble in a pond, sending ripples that would soon become a wave. The Zorathians had laughed at humans, thinking they were weak. They thought wrong. Humans weren't just fighting back, they were starting something unstoppable. The small revenge was small, but it was smart. It was quiet, but it was strong, and it was only the beginning. The Zorathians were starting to feel uneasy. For weeks, strange things had been happening. A cargo ship vanished in the asteroid belt. A supply station went dark. A trading post lost its money. An outpost's computers got all mixed up. At first, the Zorathians thought it was just bad luck. They laughed and blamed their workers for being careless. But one of their leaders, a tall alien named Varkes, wasn't so sure. Varkes was different from the others. He was quiet, with sharp red eyes that noticed things others missed. He sat in his office on the secret station, reading reports, and saw something worrying. The problems weren't random. They were part of a pattern. Someone was doing this on purpose, and Varkes was starting to think it was the humans. Varkes had a big desk covered with screens that showed messages from Zorathian ships and bases. Every day, new reports came in, and they were getting worse. One screen showed a message from a patrol ship that got stuck in a nebula after receiving bad directions. Another showed a mining base missing a crate of rare metal. A third had a video of confused traders at a post, shouting about empty bank accounts. Varkes tapped his claws on the desk, thinking hard. He remembered the 10 humans locked in cryopods on his station. He had thought they were unimportant, just tools for experiments. But now, he wondered if taking them had been a mistake. The other Zorathian leaders didn't listen to Varkes at first. They met in a shiny room with tall windows that looked out at the asteroid field. Krazer, the head leader, stood at the front, his red eyes glowing with confidence. "These are just small problems," Krazer said, waving his claw. "Our machines are old. Our workers are lazy. No one can challenge us." The others nodded, their scaly faces smirking. They thought they were too powerful for anyone to fight back. But Varkey stood up, holding a tablet with all the reports. "This isn't bad luck," he said. "Look at the timing. A ship goes missing, then a station shuts down, then a trading post breaks. It's happening too often to be chance." The room went quiet. Krazer frowned, but he didn't argue. Varkey's was making them think. Varkey's went back to his office and looked at the reports again. He noticed something else. The problems were happening near the asteroid belt, close to their secret station. He pulled up a map of the galaxy on his screen. Red dots marked where things went wrong: the lost ship, the dark station, the confused outpost. They formed a circle around the asteroids. Varkey's heart beat faster. Someone was targeting them, and they knew where the station was. He thought about the humans. They were supposed to be weak, easy to forget. But what if they were? What if their friends and families were behind this? On Earth, the humans were working harder than ever. Sam, the hacker, was sending more code into space, making Zorathian computers act strange. One day, he made a Zorathian satellite send wrong weather reports, so their ships flew into storms. Aisha, the commander, sent her pilots to mess with another Zorathian base. They didn't fight. They just turned off the base's air filters, making it dusty and hard to breathe. Elena's robots were rolling into more outposts, hiding supplies or breaking small machines. Li Mei, the pilot, was flying to trading posts, using her device to mix up their orders so they sent food to the wrong places. Every small act made the Zorathians' lives harder, and Varkey's was starting to see it. Varkey's called a meeting with his best scientists. They sat in a lab filled with blinking lights and buzzing machines. "Check the systems," he told them. "Find out why they're failing." The scientists worked all night testing computers and radios. They found something odd. Tiny bits of code like digital fingerprints were hiding in their machines. Someone was sneaking in, changing things. One scientist, a young Zorathian named Tila, looked at Varkey's with wide eyes. "This isn't an accident," she said. "Someone's hacking us." Varkey's nodded. He didn't say it out loud, but he thought of Sam, the brother of one of the humans in the cryopods. He'd heard humans were good with computers. Now he was starting to believe it. The Zorathians tried to fix their problems, but it wasn't easy. At one of their outposts, soldiers were arguing because their food was missing. Omar, the spy, had moved their supplies again, hiding them in a locked room. The soldiers were hungry and mad, blaming each other. At another base, Ivan's drone stole more metal, making it harder for the Zorathians to build new ships. Sarah's gadgets were still tracking their patrols, sending signals back to Earth. Annika's rumors were spreading, and now more alien ships were flying near the asteroid belt, looking curious. The Zorathians were used to being feared, but now they felt watched. Varkey's went to the cryopod room to check on the humans. He stood in front of the pods, watching the 10 people sleep in the cold blue light. Dr. Lena Carter, Jamal, Maria, Wei, Priya, James, Fatima, Sophia, Quame, and Aiko. They looked peaceful, unaware of the trouble they were causing. Varkey's wondered who they were. Why were they so important? He didn't know about Sam, Aisha, Elena, Li Mei, Annika, Sarah, Omar, Ivan, Nia, or Hiroshi. He didn't know that each human had someone powerful fighting for them, but he was starting to feel it. Something was wrong, and it wasn't going to stop. Back in the meeting room, Krazer was getting annoyed. He shouted at his soldiers to work harder to fix the broken stations and find the missing ships. But the soldiers were confused. They didn't know where to start. One soldier, a gruff Zorathian named Gorzad, spoke up. "What if it's the humans?" he asked. The room laughed. "Humans," Krazer said. "They're weak. They can't do this." But Varkis didn't laugh. He stood in the corner, his claws tapping nervously. He remembered the reports, the pattern, the code in their machines. Gorzad's words stuck in his mind. What if it was the humans? Varkis decided to investigate. He sent scout ships to check the asteroid belt, looking for signs of trouble. But Aisha's pilots were too clever. They hid their ships behind asteroids, staying out of sight. Varkis's scouts found nothing but rocks and dust. He also told his scientists to watch the galaxy's communication channels. They heard the rumors Annika had started about Zorathians hiding something. Varkis didn't like it. Other aliens, Velarans, Krathosians, even the tree beings of Silvar, were asking questions. Why were Zorathian ships acting strange? What was in the asteroid belt? Varkis felt the galaxy closing in. One night Varkis couldn't sleep. He walked through the secret station, his footsteps echoing in the metal halls. He passed the cryopods again, staring at the humans. He thought about Earth, a small blue planet he'd never seen. The Zorathians had always ignored it, thinking it was unimportant. But now he wasn't so sure. The missing ships, the broken stations, the mixed-up messages, it was all too perfect to be chance. Someone was planning this, and they were good at it. Varkis's red eyes narrowed. He was starting to respect the humans, even fear them a little. The other Zorathians were feeling it too. At a trading post, workers were scared because their money kept disappearing. Li Mei's tricks were working, making them think they were broke. At an outpost, soldiers were tired of fixing broken machines. Elena's robots kept sneaking in, causing more trouble. On a patrol ship, the crew was lost in a nebula, thanks to Hiroshi's mixed-up signals. Even the Krathosians, who weren't part of Earth's plan, were making life hard. Nia's letters had convinced them to check Zorathian ships, slowing down their deliveries. The Zorathians were starting to feel trapped. Varkis wrote a report for Krazer explaining the pattern. He listed every problem: the lost ship, the dark station, the empty bank accounts, the broken computers. "This is a plan," he wrote. "Someone is fighting us and they're smart." Krazer read it and threw the tablet across the room. "Fix it," he shouted, but Varkis didn't know how. The humans were too quiet, too sneaky. They weren't using big weapons or loud attacks. They were using brains, tricks, and patience. Varkis felt a chill. The humans weren't scared like he thought. They were getting ready. On Earth, the families of the 10 humans were excited. They met in halls and shared news of their small wins. Sam told them about the satellite he tricked. Aisha showed videos of her pilots sneaking past Zorathian scouts. Sarah's gadgets were lighting up maps with new signals. People cheered, but they knew this was just the start. The Zorathians were worried, but they weren't beaten yet. The humans kept working, planning their next moves. They didn't need to shout or fight big battles. They were winning by being clever. The galaxy was watching too. Velaran traders sent messages to Earth offering to help. Krathosian pilots shared maps of the asteroid belt. The tree beings of Sylvar sent a message. We see your courage. The Zorathians didn't know it, but their secret was slipping away. Varkis's reports were right, something was wrong, and it was getting worse. The humans were coming, and they weren't going to stop. The Zorathians had thought they could take 10 people and no one would care. Now they were starting to worry. They should have been. Back on Earth, something big was happening, but it was quiet. Leaders and families gathered in a plain building in Geneva, far from cameras and crowds. There were no flags flying, no reporters asking questions, no bright lights or fancy speeches. Just a group of determined people sitting in a simple room with plain walls and wooden chairs. These weren't just any people. They were the families and friends of the 10 humans taken by the Zorathians, locked away in cryopods on a secret station. They weren't here to complain or cry. They had lost their loved ones, sisters, brothers, parents, friends, and they were ready to fight to get them back. This was Earth's secret plan, and they were here to win. The room was filled with faces full of focus. Aisha Okoro, the Space Navy commander, sat at the head of a long table. Her husband Jamal was one of the captives, and her eyes were sharp with purpose. Next to her was Sam Carter, the hacker, whose sister, Dr. Lena Carter, was also taken. Sam's laptop was open, glowing with maps and codes. Elena, the robot scientist, was there for her friend Maria, sketching new designs on a notepad. Limei, the pilot, sat quietly, thinking of her husband, Wei, and planning her next flight. Annika, the diplomat, was making notes about alien leaders she could call. Sarah, the young inventor, was showing her dad's friend a new gadget she'd built. Omar, the spy, leaned against a wall, his eyes scanning the room. Ivan, the builder, was drawing plans for a new ship. Nia, the lawyer, was writing a list of galaxy rules the Zorathians had broken. Hiroshi, the general, stood tall, his arms crossed, thinking of his daughter Eiko. They all had one thing in common. They wanted their loved ones back. Aisha stood up first. "We've already started," she said, her voice steady. "We've made their ships disappear, their stations go dark, their money vanish, but it's not enough. We need a bigger plan." Everyone nodded. They knew the small tricks, Sam's hacks, Elena's robots, Limei's sneaky trades were making the Zorathians nervous. But the 10 humans were still locked away, and time was running out. The Zorathians might decide to hurt them or move them somewhere harder to find. The people in the room weren't going to let that happen. Sam raised his hand. "I've been tracking their ships," he said. "My code found their secret station in the asteroid belt. It's hidden, but I know where it is." He turned his laptop to show a map with a blinking red dot. The room leaned forward, excited. Sarah, the teenager, jumped up. "My gadgets are on their ships too," she said. "They're sending signals so we know where they're going." Aisha smiled. "Good," she said. "We know where to go. Now we need to get inside." Elena spoke next. "My robots can help," she said, holding up her sketch. "I'm building one that can sneak into their station and open the cryopods." Her robot was small, like a toy car, but it could climb walls and hide in shadows. It had a camera to send pictures back to Earth and a tool to unlock doors. The group liked her idea. Ivan, the builder, added, "I'm making a ship that can carry Elena's robots. It's fast and quiet, so the Zorathians won't see us coming." His ship design was on a big piece of paper, showing a sleek shape that could slip through space like a fish in water. Limei, the pilot, had her own plan. "I can fly Ivan's ship," she said. "I know the asteroid belt. I've dodged pirates there before. I can get us close without being caught." Her confidence made everyone feel stronger. Omar, the spy, spoke softly from the corner. "I can go with Li Mei," he said. "I'll sneak into the station and find the humans. I've done it before in tougher places." His calm voice made the room trust him. They knew Omar could move like a ghost, unseen and unheard. Annika, the diplomat, had a different idea. "We need help from other planets," she said. "I've been talking to the Velarans and Krathosians. They don't trust the Zorathians. If we show them proof, they'll join us." She held up a tablet with messages from alien leaders, offering ships and information. Nia, the lawyer, agreed. "I'm writing a case against the Zorathians," she said. "If we show the galaxy they broke the rules, other planets will stand with us. They won't let the Zorathians get away with this." Her words gave the group hope. They weren't alone. Earth had friends in the stars. Hiroshi, the general, spoke last. "We don't want a war," he said, "but we need to be ready. My soldiers are training to fly fast and quiet like Ivan's ship. We'll hit the station hard, but only to get our people back." His voice was strong and everyone listened. They knew Hiroshi had won battles before and his plan was smart. It wasn't about fighting, it was about winning without being seen. The room buzzed with ideas. They started making a plan that used everyone's skills. Sam would hack the station's computers to open doors and turn off alarms. Alina's robots would scout the station and find the cryopods. Li Mei and Omar would fly in with Ivan's ship, sneaking inside to free the humans. Sarah's gadgets would track Zorathian ships to keep them away. Annika and Nia would talk to alien planets, asking for backup ships to guard the escape route. Hiroshi's soldiers would be ready in case things went wrong. It was a big plan, but it was secret. No one outside the room could know. They worked late into the night, sharing ideas. Aisha drew a map of the asteroid belt on a big screen marking the secret station. "It's surrounded by rocks," she said. "We'll need to be careful." Li Mei nodded. "I can fly through those rocks. I've done it before." Sam added, "I can make their scanners show nothing. They won't see us." The group felt stronger with every idea. They weren't just fighting, they were outsmarting the Zorathians. The families shared stories to keep their spirits high. Aisha talked about Jamal's big laugh, how he'd make everyone smile when he came home. Sam told stories of Lena's stargazing nights, teaching him about the sky. Alina spoke of Maria's kind voice, helping kids learn. Wei's wife, Li Mei, remembered his gentle hands, saving lives. Annika hummed Priya's music, filling the room with hope. Sarah showed a picture of her dad, James, working in his space garden. Omar spoke of Fatima's stories, teaching history to kids. Ivan described Sophia's love for dancing, even after fixing engines all day. Nia talked about Quame's cooking, making meals that warmed hearts. Hiroshi showed a painting by Eiko, bright with colors of hope. These stories reminded them why they were fighting. They also planned to keep things quiet. "No one can know," Aisha said. "If the Zorathians find out, they'll move the humans." Everyone agreed. They used secret codes to talk, codes only they understood. Sam set up a hidden network for their messages so no one could listen in. Omar taught them how to hide their ship's signals, making them invisible. Annika told them to avoid big spaceports where Zorathian spies might be. The plan was like a puzzle, with every piece fitting perfectly. Kids on Earth were starting to hear whispers of the plan. Not the whole thing, just enough to make them excited. In schools, teachers told stories of the 10 humans, calling them heroes. Kids drew pictures of spaceships and robots, dreaming of helping. Some wrote letters to the leaders, saying, "Bring them home." The group in the room heard about this and smiled. They knew Earth was behind them, even the youngest people. The galaxy was stirring too. Annika's messages reached the Velarans, who sent maps of the asteroid belt. The Krathosians offered fast ships to help Li Mei. The tree beings of Silvar sent a message: "We trust Earth." These aliens didn't know the whole plan, but they knew something was wrong with the Zorathians. They were ready to help when the time came. The group worked on details. Alina's robot needed a stronger battery to last longer. Ivan's ship needed a special shield to hide from scanners. Sam's code needed to be faster, sneakier. Sarah tested her gadgets, making sure they worked in space. Omar practiced moving silently in a training room, teaching others his tricks. Nia wrote her case carefully, using simple words so every alien could understand. Hiroshi's soldiers trained to fly in tight spaces, ready for the asteroid belt. As the meeting ended, the room was quiet but strong. They looked at each other, knowing the plan was good. Aisha spoke last. "We're not just saving our family," she said. "We're showing the galaxy who we are." Everyone nodded. They weren't afraid. They were ready. The Zorathians thought they could take 10 humans and get away with it. They were wrong. Earth's secret plan was like a shadow moving closer, and it was going to win.